What's up, YouTube? I'm Rob.
And this is Nick.
We're Coffee and Crypto. We're back here with another market update and analysis for you. We're going to jump into it. We got the Bitcoin chart pulled up here. We're going to give you some price predictions and go over some news that's happened recently, and then give you our analysis and thoughts. But before we get into that, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, as it helps us in our growth and support of this channel so we can keep bringing you market updates, analysis, crypto education and content, and all things finance and crypto related. So let's jump into it. So we're sitting at a Bitcoin price of $20,550. Nick has the Bitcoin chart pulled up here. He's our resident technical analysis pro. So he's going to give us some of his thoughts on what he's seeing here. So Nick, walk us through what we got. Looks like we got the weekly chart here.
Yeah, that's what we got. We got the weekly candles pulled up here. Let me zoom in just a little bit so everyone can see it just a little bit better. We had some bearish things happen the last few weeks. You see how we closed below the 200-week moving average. That was a signal to the market that we've entered into like a territory that Bitcoin hasn't seen before. Historically, Bitcoin will hit this 200-week moving average and bounce right off of it. But with all of the negative news events happening out there that we're going to talk about with like Voyager and all that stuff, we seem to kind of be like held below this level. The other thing that I'm seeing, I'm going to pull up the DXY, which is the dollar index. This is the dollar versus a basket of other currencies. So this basically means that the dollar is rallying relative to a bunch of other currencies. And this is actually a monthly chart. So this is super long term. I always say, like, when in doubt, zoom out, because we're in a very uncertain time right now. There's a lot of conflicting information. You've got technicals showing bullish, bearish things on the longer term time frames. And at the same time, you've got extremely bearish news coming out, like one hit after another with the bearish news that we're going to talk about. But there is some light I'm seeing at the end of the tunnel. However, we really need this DXY index to stay below this resistance level, which is the 702 Fibonacci. We're not going to get into what all that means, but this is a very significant resistance level coming off of this macro level high of 119 and the macro low of 71 on the DXY. This is the 702 retracement level. If you watch some of our older videos, that's where we were saying Bitcoin is going to retrace to in a retracement rally, and DXY has already done that. So what's happened over the last 2 to 3 months is DXY has rallied the last 2 to 3 months, which has put a lot of sell pressure on both the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. If this serves as a long-term resistance and the DXY rolls over here, which I'm crossing my fingers that it does, the stock market, I say the stock market and the crypto market having one final rally into this DXY rolling over before all of these macro things, we could go into like a longer term recession, depression. But I'm seeing this as kind of like a technical, just this is a very strong level of resistance in any charts that I could pull up and show you guys. However, the other thing I wanted to show you guys is okay, go for it.
Go back to the, okay. So for those who don't know, explain quickly, what is the dollar currency index? It's the dollar compared to other currencies?
Yes, it's a currency index. It's the US dollar. It's relative to a basket of other currencies worldwide. So basically it means the dollar is stronger relative to other worldwide currencies, such as like the euro, the yuan, and things like that.
So why would it be going up now? Because other countries are also experiencing inflation and economic hardship? Or is there something else that's going on?
I honestly don't know. All I know is it is going up relative to the other currencies. So maybe
So I did see numbers recently, and countries outside of the US are experiencing significant inflation. Like we're at 8.5, 8.6, whatever it is. Other countries are way above that, 10, 20, 30, 40, 60%, plus inflation. Like the numbers are just insane. So I guess that could be why.
That could be a possible reason why. I don't understand. I'm just looking at what the chart's showing me. I just wanted to explain one other. All right, so we got the weekly Bitcoin chart pulled up here. I'm gonna move us over to the monthly, and then we're gonna open up these things called the Bollinger Bands. It's a technical indicator that I don't use very often, but I saw a few guys on Twitter talking about this the other day, and it was very interesting. Seeing that on the monthly level, we're down at the bottom of the range for Bollinger Bands, and this is historically, when you get to the bottom of the Bollinger Band range, we get some sort of a rally. Does that mean that this is the bottom? I don't know. Does this mean Bitcoin is going to go from 20,000 up to maybe 28 to 30,000 before rolling over and hitting this huge level of support with the volume down here on these yellow lines? We're not going to get into all that detail right now, but I don't know yet. All I'm saying is it is going to be very difficult for Bitcoin to go any lower at this immediate moment, based on what I'm seeing technically. Some some consolidation is going to have to play out. We're going to have to bounce, roll over, or this could possibly be the bottom. A lot depends on the news stories that are going to be coming out here in the next few weeks. And so, Rob, if you want to talk a little bit about some of the news that's happened and some of the upcoming news.
Yeah, I would say just from a very basic view, like if you didn't even know crypto and you just kind of like looked at this chart, you're like, all right, this is where we are now. This is where we were at our all-time highs previously. And you weren't factoring in any news and you just looked at this chart, it does look like we are at the bottom. We're at the previous all-time high around 20,000. We've came down from 69,000. So like without even talking about news and the economy and the economic outlook and the macro view, I mean, this does look like it could be a bottom, but there's a lot of factors, against us right now. So let's go over some news and then we'll give you our predictions. So first thing we have is Voyager files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So Chapter 11 is a restructuring bankruptcy. And basically it sounds like they're trying to salvage, their assets, pause their debts and restructure their company, maybe rebrand, maybe a new name. And from what I read, it sounded like if you had funds on that exchange, like they're still frozen and you can't withdraw, transfer, anything like that. So the funds are still frozen. And actually what they want to do, in my opinion, is like, it just doesn't sound like a good plan. And I wouldn't be excited about it if I had my money on there. So let's just imagine you have $10,000 on there just for, illustration purposes. So you can't withdraw right now. They're restructuring, and to give you like the equivalent of your $10,000 back, which they don't have, they're basically going to form a new company, issue new stock. They're going to issue, I don't know if it's their Voyager token or a new version of their Voyager token, and then you'll get what you're owed in proportion to what they can get back from 3 Arrows Capital, which it looks like they're not going to get anything back because that company went to zero. Like they just over leveraged and, absolutely nuked all their capital. So it's unlikely you'll get any money from the three Arrows Capital recovery lawsuit. And then other than that, you're freaking getting new stock from, a bankrupt filed company, and then VGX tokens or their new version of VGX tokens, which essentially are not going to have, much value or worth. And, who's going to want to buy that? So
Stay away from Voyager.
It's not looking good if you had your funds on there. We previously had faith in Voyager before all this happened because on paper they look good. They were a public company. They had
Very, very easy to use, user friendly. Yeah.
Ease of use, good interface, a lot of good projects and plans on their roadmap, good leadership. They're very, very public leadership, their CEO, you could see everything that was going on. And they had the VGX token and they had a lot of things coming out. So they had the VGX card, their debit card. I know they were building a website so you can use the website and the app to trade. So they had a lot of things coming out and they were, competing against other exchanges, but it's not looking good now. You got to basically get all your coins off these platforms at this point, given the market. Don't hold your coins on any exchanges, which we've said numerous times before. But let's get into the next one. So we have Celsius lowered their liquidation price to $2,722. So they've been lowering it. I don't know where they're getting this money from, but first it was like in the 20,000s, then it was, around 20,000 in the teens, around 10,000, 5,000, and now they lower their liquidation price to $2,722. I don't know where they're getting this money from, but the fact that it's that low that's a good thing because they're not going to get liquidated and, nuke everyone's funds on there. But who knows what's going to happen with that? I've heard or I've read some people on Twitter joking around that now that they're like whatever their liquidation price is, at first it was like 10,000, then it was 5,000, now we're 2,000. That's what the number of people are going to chase to get to for the Bitcoin price to nuke the market that low.
It's not going
So,
to 2007.
I don't think it's realistic we get that low. But next on the list we have USDC. So that's the USDC coin, which is backed by or made by the company called Circle. They announced that 80% of their backing of USDC is in US Treasury notes, and then the other 20% is in cash. So they have an 80-20 backing.
And that's verified?
That was reported on Twitter. I don't have their, okay, I didn't see a financial statement.
That's good news for USDC.
Yeah, because there's a lot of question, speculation, and concern over the stable coins right now. And it looks like stable coins are going to get regulated in the near future. USDT has been under a lot of speculation, and people have basically been withdrawing billions of dollars worth of USDT and putting it into USDC. And you can, if you actually pull up the chart of USDT, you can see it was very high. And it was, 50, 60, 70 billion, whatever it was. And it's been declining in the billions, and USDC is going up. So people are moving their funds because they don't want an unwind or a bank run to happen because we don't know what is backing USDT. Next one, we have Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX reportedly has over $2 billion that could be deployed in crypto deals to back the industry. 2 billion, we're at around 1 trillion in market cap right now. At the peak, we were 3 trillion. 2 billion in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of money compared to the market cap. But for, failing companies getting liquidated, that is a lot of money. So it just depends on how you look at it. But some people are saying that the fact that he has this much money to deploy at a given notice to back failing companies, that could signal a bottom because he has $2 billion more that he's willing to basically save the crypto markets from further, downward spiral. So something to consider. Good.
One thing real quick. 2 billion, I believe, in terms of market cap is actually huge. If that's like real liquid capital, there's been a lot of studies done. I don't have them to bring up and show you guys right now, but getting to a $3 trillion market cap, there's not actually $3 trillion worth of capital that was input into the market to get to those price levels. It's like a much smaller fraction of it. So if you're throwing $2 billion at a market cap of something that's a couple trillion, it has a significant amount, can have a significant amount of effect on moving the prices back higher. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
It could, you're right. I don't know for sure. To me, like I definitely don't know how much that could move the market with, market cap, crypto 1 trillion, 3 trillion, and then you have the 2 billion.
Depends on the liquidity. If the liquidity is low, you can move the prices significantly. And liquidity in crypto is still relatively low compared to traditional markets.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in play, but 2 billion, I don't know. To me, just knowing like more macro and finance in general, 2 billion is not a lot compared to other, types of investments. For example, we covered this at one point. The fund, the hedge fund called A16Z.
Yeah.
They had like a $4.5 billion fund that they were just going to invest in crypto gaming. So we'll see how that plays out. But some people are viewing this as it could be a potential bottom signal because Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, notable name in the industry, he's got a lot of capital to deploy to save the industry from further nuking. So something to think about. Lastly, we have the upcoming numbers being released for this month in July, which is CPI, which is inflation. That's going to be next week, July
Consumer price
13th.
index.
July 13th. And then GDP for quarter two is July 28th. So two big numbers coming out this month. This could be a pivotal point because we're sitting at 20,000. It's a key support area. If we get really bad numbers and it's really bearish, we could break the next leg down. If it's not that bad and we're starting to recover, then we could get some sort of bounce here. I think we're going to hold and chop. Personally, I think we're going to hold and chop sideways until these numbers come out, because if it's bearish, people are going to trade the market accordingly. And we could see that next leg down to, 12, 13, $1,000. There's multiple support levels, 11, 12, 13. Then we have like some more support in like the 15 to 17 range. So I'm thinking anywhere in the 12 to 20,000 range is a good dollar cost average zone. But if we get really bad news, bearish numbers, worse than expected, higher interest rates hikes, it could signal the next leg down. So that's it for the news. My thoughts. Nick, why don't you close off your thoughts, predictions, and comments?
You want to talk about the Dow Jones in the 70s for a little bit? Yeah. All right. Rob and I were talking a little bit before we started recording, and we were just chit chatting about like
1970s
the 1970s. Like, we don't really have any type of historical data for at least cryptocurrency, but we do know that cryptocurrency does tend to follow the stock market very closely. So what we do have is I went to the Dow Jones here, pulled up what the Dow Jones looked like in the 70s, like 1970 to 1980. This was a period of extremely high inflation. It was all over the place. I pulled up some data. I think if we wanted to compare as close to where we are right now, we're at like a 8 or 9% inflation right now, I think, Rob. And that's the same exact play. I think I looked it up with 1973. Where is that right here? We were right around 8.8% inflation, I think, in the United States. So this chart like kind of looks eerily similar to me, like the double tops that we've had in Bitcoin right here, and then or the stock market, and kind of falling like 20%. Does this mean that over the next year, if we follow what happened in the 1970s and inflation keeps going higher, that we could dump down another 30-40%? I don't know. I just kind of thought it was cool that we could go back and we had this data on TradingView for the Dow Jones back in the 70s to kind of see historically what happened the last time that inflation was really high. It looks kind of like just a ridiculous amount of chop. Everyone's confused, but overall the market kind of stayed in the same place for, what is that, like 10, 15 years.
The counter argument to that is this is the stock market, and then we're comparing it to crypto. The other counter argument is we didn't have the significant amount of debt that we have now as a country. So that's the other factor. Like, the debt was way less back then.
That's true. We came off the gold standard back here in 1971, so that was like so there. It's not, we're not comparing apples to apples here. Like comparing apples to oranges.
It's just, it is good for perspective of where the bottom was. Inflation was super high. I mean, that's really like one of the only times we had where inflation was significantly high. I think it got up to around 20%.
I think that was the peak. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that was like later here, like in 79, 80. Yeah, like 79, like the inflation was like close to 20% around this area.
But regardless, either way, it recovered and went up, but it took years to do so. We're talking over a decade.
Yeah.
It didn't go up until 86, so it was down at the low of 74, so over a decade to recover. So, if we bottom now and we chop sideways, you buy Bitcoin at 20,000, you better be able to hold on to that for the next 10 plus years. And then it could go to, who knows, 100 plus thousand. But you got to be willing to, that's basically the risk you're taking, is if we're in such a bad, economic time right now, it could not really recover for 10 years. And if you're investing in Bitcoin, you got to be okay with not using that money for 10 years.
But there's also the argument that could be made that cryptocurrency could start decoupling from the stock market, because if you really look at what crypto is versus what stocks are, they shouldn't be trading hand in hand like they have been. If you look at it more like a commodity or something like that. It really doesn't make sense to me why they trade so hand in hand right now, but we'll see what happens. I mean, it's all gonna get shown with time.
I think it was just the speculative play on liquidity,
Mm-hmm.
on the recent time,
Is there
on the
anything else you
recent
want
years.
to talk about? Otherwise, we can wrap things up with a market update.
I think we'll wrap it up there. I think we cover a lot. We have some important numbers coming out this month. So hold on to your seat. I think we're in a good dollar cost average zone either way in the 12 to 20,000 range. So just got to be patient and stay along for the ride.
Yeah, one final thing. As I always say, Rob and I are not financial advisors. This is not financial advice. So do your own research prior to making any financial decisions, and we will see you guys
Well,
next time.
wait,
What?
I will say that we reclaimed 20,500. That seemed to be a key level on the chart. So if we hold that, could be potentially looking at a bounce here. So we'll see. See you guys next time.